Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we're wrapping up all the books I read in November, of which there were two. Didn't read very much in November, but first things first, I did read A Mouthful of Dust by Nebo, which is the sixth book in the Singing Hill Cycle series. This one is a series of novellas that are all in some way about storytelling, and about, like, each one has a specific kind of story that it's looking at. This particular entry sees Cleric Chi and their Hoopoe companion Almost Brilliant traveling to a small village that's known for two things. The first is a very famous pork dish that Chi is a particularly fan of, and the other thing is a massive famine that happened within a couple generations ago. So Chi is traveling there to find out more about both of these things, but particularly about the famine, knowing that the famine is sort of a prickly topic in the area, and upon arriving in the village is pretty much immediately swept away to the estate of this magistrate who was present during the famine, who clearly wants a specific version of the story told, and so Chi is having to navigate a sort of tense, prickly political situation, while also trying to get at the truth of what happened during the famine. So we're getting all of these different perspectives of different people from different backgrounds and different class statuses, and how they dealt with the famine, the things that they did or felt they had to do to survive, and sort of how the famine started, different beliefs about how it started, but also different ideas about how and why it ended. And I just think it was really interesting. I really enjoyed this. And I think my only issue with this book is it's not my favorite, but it is very good within the series. My favorite in the series is Mammoth at the Gates. But I think my one little quibble with this one is that there are a few moments where, because all of these characters are trying to speak kind of obliquely around the famine, they're trying not to be too direct because they are trying to guide Chi to understand the famine in a specific way. There were a few moments where things were described so vaguely, where they'd be like, you know what I mean? And she would be like, yeah, I think I do know what you mean. And then they would continue on from a point as though they did understand. And there were moments that I, as a reader, felt like I had not understood because things were described in such vague terms. I do think it was, like, intentional. I think it was a stylistic choice. But there were moments of that just didn't quite work for me because I felt like Chi was moving on based on the understanding of whatever information had just been provided, or was having a conversation with another character, particularly Almost Brilliant, about whatever had just been stated, and I was feeling a little left in the dust, like I have no idea what you're talking about, I don't know what exactly happened there. So that was my only issue with it, and I think it was kind of intentional, but there were some moments of it that just didn't quite work for me as a reader. But overall, this is a really great installment in the series, and I like a lot of the issues it's digging into, especially around, like, power and authority in regards to the famine, and wealth and privilege. I think it was really interesting to look at those ideas, and I'm definitely looking forward to more books in this series if we get them. The other book I read this month was also a series installment that I've been reading along with. This one is the Kamigawa Food Detectives' third book, Menu of Happiness, and this one I gave, I think, 3.5 or 4 stars. This kind of follows the same format as the first 3 books, where you have people who are coming to the Kamigawa Diner to have our two main characters, whose names are escaping me now. Why is that happening? Koichi and Nagare, having them look at or look for a specific dish for them because they want to, like, relive or return to in some way a specific moment in their past, or use that food to kind of process the way they feel about something. But this particular entry, I think, did a couple of things that I liked and a couple of things I didn't. In terms of things I liked, there were a few moments in this one that we didn't really get in earlier entries in the series, the first 2 books, where we have a little bit more of the interiority of the characters who are asking for the food. We're seeing more of their reaction to the food, or what it's making them think of, or learning something about their story that they are not telling to Koichi and Nagare. So I thought that was really interesting, where the reader knows just, like, a little bit more than the characters, and we learn a little bit more about the people and why they're wanting to re-experience this particular food. So I liked that aspect of it. I also really like there's a callback in this one to a previous story in the series, where there's a character who refers back to one of the patrons in an earlier story, and is like, oh yeah, this guy told me about the diner, and that's how I found you. Which I think is fun. It's a little bit of a break in the format, and also just kind of a callback to an earlier part of the series, so it's fun if you've read those earlier stories. The thing I didn't like so much is I felt like there were several moments throughout this one where Koichi was made the butt of the joke in terms of, like, her intelligence or her understanding of a topic, and sometimes her reaction to something. So, like, she's being treated as overly emotional or kind of dumb, and that's, like, the butt of the joke. And I really didn't like that, particularly because Koichi does have, like, a particular skill set that is very important to their efforts at the Kamigawa Detective Agency, and it just frustrated me that it felt like a lot of the criticisms leveraged at her in these jokes were somewhat misogynistic. which really sucks because I think Koichi is a really fun and interesting character. So that frustrated me and kind of brought down my enjoyment because it happened several times across several of the stories, including like 2 or 3 times in one story. So didn't love that, but overall still found this to be like an enjoyable entry in the series, and will continue reading them as they are translated and released in the US. So that's everything I read this month. Let me know down in the comments below what you read in November, particularly if anything stuck with you. I'm always curious to know like what books stick in your mind and kind of make you keep thinking about them. So let me know that down in the comments below. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you consider giving me a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting at least once a week, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.